Pete Rose, who is the author of a new book, Play Hungry, The Making of a Baseball Player. He joins us on the show. Pete, good morning.
Well, anybody in their right mind had to know that Golden State was going to get beat last night. When you have no Durant and all of a sudden no Thompson, and you got Curry, who else was going to score for Golden State last night?
So do you think the Raptors have a chance to win the whole thing?
Oh, I think that was an important game last night. If they don't get Klay Thompson back, Durant might play in Game 4 or 5. I don't know, but they're catching a great team that's not a great team at the present moment at the right time, and they're playing with a lot of enthusiasm and the right players. The right players are playing good for Toronto right now, and the right players aren't playing good for Golden State because they're on the bench. They're hurt. The same team that won 2 championships in a row or whatever, they don't have the same horses out there playing right now. And it's a great opportunity for the Toronto Raptors to win an NBA championship. And Seth Curry's going to go down fighting. That guy's unbelievable, but he's got to have some help. One time last night, they had 27 points from other players, and he had 25.
Yeah.
And they were 1 for 13 for 3, and he was 4 for 8 from 3. So you can't win when you're relying on one person to score 70 points.
You're right. Absolutely. Pete Rose joining us for NBA Finals analysis here on the show. I don't mean to be dismissive. Did you have any money on last night's game or any of the NBA Finals?
No, because I'm traveling right now.
Oh.
I don't do no more illegal gambling.
Well, you don't have to
I
be
live
illegal.
in Las Vegas. If I want to go make a bet, I can go down to the race book and make a bet.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I just watched the game last night. I'm not worried about betting on a game when I'm not somewhere where I can bet illegally on the game. I just watched the game as an NBA fan. I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan. He's a great player. I'm just interested in where he's going next year.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
You win the world title and you leave a team. That's a hard thing to do.
Yep. No, absolutely right. I want to ask you about your 1937 Plymouth that your dad bought you for $100 because in this book you say that you loved it, your first car, and I thought this was so interesting. It gave me so much context to growing up. Tell me why you love the 37 Plymouth.
Well, I was just a senior in high school. My mom bought it for me for $100, and it had a stereo in it. It was my first car. I mean, and then I traded that for a '49 Chevy. So, but it was a cool looking 30. I wish I had that 37 Plymouth today. I mean, it was really pretty. Yeah, it was clean. It was it wasn't used that much. I don't know how in the hell we got it for $100, but the 37, and that was 1960. That was 1960. So. It was, 23 years old when I bought it.
Did you ever take it
That's my first car. You remember your first car?
Yeah. It was a 72 Cutlass that I had. 1972 Cutlass was my first car. It was an amazing car.
That's growing up, man. That's all part of growing up and being joyful when you get the car. And I remember when I drove up with that car to my mom. She was working in the store. She looked at me. She said, "What the hell is that?"
Did you ever bring that to like a necking spot or some type of peak with like a girl, and you could kind of look out over the town?
No, it had a rumble seat in it.
Oh, okay, all right, even better.
Yeah, people could ride the rumble seat. The first thing I had to do was go get a driver's license. I didn't even have a driver's license, but she got the deal on the car, so she pulled the trigger, so to speak.
Gotcha. Pete Rose joins us this morning on the show. His book is about his life. It's called Play Hungry, The Making of a Baseball Player. I got to tell you, we had a lot of fun with the anecdote you told Mike Francesa about showering with Joe DiMaggio. And I got to read that passage in the book. And obviously, he was very well endowed, very well gifted. And you talk about how you were intimidated by just being around Joe DiMaggio. He always had so much confidence. On his question, do you think because he was so well endowed, that gave him that swagger and confidence?
Nah, he was just, you couldn't have been a nicer guy to him, to those soldiers in Vietnam. He was so humble and so down to earth, and, he was at an age, he was well retired, and he wasn't a player no more, but you couldn't have wrote a script for him to be more cordial and more nice to those guys in Vietnam. I mean, they had to feel so good because we would go into these places where we would be the only people that these guys working there, these advisory teams, would see for 6 months other than the mailman. And all of a sudden Joe D walks in and talks to him for an hour, hour and a half, and took time with everybody. I mean, you could just see the gleam in their eyes, because most of them, all of them knew who Joe DiMaggio was. They didn't all know me. I was only in the league 3 or 4 years, but it was a pleasure to see the smiling faces that Joe created just by being Joe DiMaggio and being a nice guy.
You met so many baseball legends and still do along your travels, and DiMaggio had a certain royalty, a certain elegance about him that was just different. What do you think that was that he had that so many other athletic legends don't?
That's a good question, but all I can tell you is in my lifetime, and I met 7 presidents, 7. In my lifetime, there's 2 guys, and the second one you won't understand, but when a guy walked into a room, the room lit up. The room literally lit up. And one was Joe DiMaggio, and the other was at Gulfstream Racetrack up in a private room. Bill Parcells walked in, and the room lit up. He was the head coach of the Giants at the time, and he had just a good-looking sport coat on, and he just made such a presence. And those are the only 2 guys that I've ever been around that the room lit up when they walked in the room. And I've been in the room with a lot of important people. A lot of important people. I don't know who you would think. You ever been in a room when someone just lit up the room when they walked in?
Not like that. I don't think I've ever been in a room with somebody like DiMaggio where I'm sure he just exuded like he was royalty.
I mean, it could have been like John Wayne walking in the room or Frank Sinatra walking in the room. And I didn't have that opportunity. But although I met Frank Sinatra, he used to be a Dodger fan. He sit right behind our dugouts to watch the game. And the reason he sit behind our dugout so he could see in the Dodger dugout. That's how big of a fan he was.
I liked in the final sentence of that passage you said, I felt sorry for Marilyn Monroe.
Well, all I can say about Joe is he's a better man than me because I don't know. I only hit 44 in a row. I don't know how in the hell he hit 56 straight games carrying that thing around.
The book is Play Hungry, The Making of a Baseball Player by Pete Rose. Check it out. Makes a really cool Father's Day gift. Father's Day is just a couple of weeks away. Pete, thanks so much for the time this morning.
You guys have a great day. Okay,
you too.
Thanks.
Pete Rose joining us this morning.